Let's meet a young, happy-go-lucky Salia, working part-time at a local restaurant. As the eldest son of a German Sinhalese family, he is a strong believer that happiness is not a goal at the end of some path, but rather the journey itself. With a flair for culinary arts, Salia delights his family by replicating the dishes he serves at the restaurant. But life takes a sudden turn when his vision begins to falter at school. Out of concern, his parents take him to the doctor, who tells them that their son's vision loss is caused by a rare genetic disease. He suggests that Salia gets an immediate eye surgery to prevent him from going completely blind. Thanks to the surgery, the doctors are able to preserve some of his capability to see, but even still, it is only around 5% of that of a normal person. Salia is determined not to let this setback prevent him from achieving his dreams. He has envisioned a career for himself in hotel management and will settle for nothing less. Salia's father is unsupportive of him continuing school due to his vision, but with some help from his mother, the boy stays on. Having lost 95% of his vision, his auditory senses heighten, and he manages to study with the help of sounds. He works hard and gets a good enough score to help him apply as an apprentice in big brand hotels. He begins applying for jobs in the hotel industry, but is repeatedly rejected due to his disability. However, he refuses to give up and eventually lands an interview at a prestigious hotel chain by concealing the truth about his eyesight. Salia's mother and Sheila, his sister, help him prepare for the interview, going as far as to drive him to Munich for the big day. During the interview, Salia is charismatic, confident, and witty, presenting himself as the perfect potential employee. Even so, the interviewer senses that something is off. After several successful rounds of interviews, Salia is offered an apprenticeship at the hotel. He must now learn to navigate his new work environment while also concealing his disability. Soon, he learns how to reach the hotel on foot by counting the number of steps he must walk in a direction. Sheila moves to Munich with him to help him navigate the unfamiliar streets and be his support system till he can be on his own. On his first day, Salia is greeted by the director and the rest of the leading staff of the hotel. He is to train under them, learning the ins and outs of the trade. Besides him, there are quite a few other apprentices, including a man named Max, who had his interview alongside Salia. For his first assignment, Salia is to work in the housekeeping department and set the rooms for the guests to full perfection. While he is finding it hard to clean the mirror, his colleague, Max, sneaks up on him and demands to know why he is making use of a magnifying glass. Salia opens up about his condition, requesting that the other man keep it a secret. Max is very understanding about Salia's struggles and offers to help him learn how to find his way around the hotel better. They soon become friends and start doing all their tasks together. After Salia finishes his housekeeping assignment, he is moved on to the kitchen alongside Max. There, while emptying out the dirty dishes, he quickly befriends a man from Afghanistan called Hamid. Hamid is a medical practitioner from Kabul and quickly earns Salia's trust. Despite the many difficulties he faces, Salia is determined to succeed. He spends all his free time studying and memorizing every detail of the hotel. Even so, as the work becomes more demanding, his blindness becomes increasingly difficult to hide. He is forced to deceive his colleagues, often in comical and inventive ways. One day while working, Salia hears a woman singing. He is enchanted by the sound and immediately falls for the singer. He and Max develop a plot to be able to get to know her better. She is the produce delivery girl, and her name is Laura. Salia tries to flirt with her, but is interrupted by his supervisor, Chef Crone, giving him a task of slicing a block of ham. Due to his vision, Salia ends up hurting himself while using the industrial cutting machine. His injury proves serious, and he loses a lot of blood. Seeing it, Crone asks him to meet him at closing time. He is suspicious of Salia and, to test his suspicion, puts an easily visible way in his way for Salia to trip over. Exposed, he comes clean and tells Crone the truth. Instead of firing him, the man chooses to help Salia understand how to use the machine to avoid any such incidents in the future. While excelling in his kitchen work, Salia also tries to get closer to Laura, only to find out that she has a boyfriend. To cheer him up from his heartbreak, Max takes him to a nightclub and encourages him to hook up with the girls there. After some nagging from his friend, he goes home with one of the girls. Salia finishes his kitchen assignment as well as one at the front desk before finally being moved on to the hotel restaurant and bar. This is one of the hardest tasks that the apprentices must pass. It is a particularly challenging one for Salia, as the measurements must be precise for all drinks to taste the exact same. Max helps him after hours to learn the different cocktails that are being taught. Given his vision, however, it is still difficult for Salia to get the dosage right. Not one to give up, He works hard and eventually makes the perfect Long Island iced tea to impress Kleinschmidt, his trainer and the restaurant's manager. He's a very strict and grumpy man, claiming that the good cocktail was as a stroke of luck. This good fortune of Salia's continues as he serves a very crowded bar one night to perfection, but only for a limited period of time. Eventually, a speed bump presents itself in the form of wine glasses that he just can't manage to polish to perfect spotlessness. Knowing there is no way for him to see the glasses properly, Salia only manages to solve the problem by listening to the sound it makes when struck. While he is conquering challenges one after the other in his professional life, Salia's personal life starts looking up as well. He finds out that Laura and her boyfriend have separated. He asks her out for dinner, and the two of them get along very well. She tells him that she has a 5-year-old son named Oscar, who she loves dearly. After a successful first date, Salia gets to meet Oscar, and he plays football with him. Seeing her son and Salia bond together so well, a gush of happiness takes over Laura, and she kisses Salia for the first time. The two share a heartwarming moment before he leaves for home. Not too long after that, Salia finds out that his father has left the country, taking all their family jewelry and savings to start a new life in Sri Lanka. This breaks his mother's heart and lands the family in financial distress. Salia's mother has never worked a day in her life and is worried that she will be able to get a job at her age. Salia takes up a second job to help with money but ends up overworking himself. He starts taking drugs to keep him afloat. Predictably, it does not go well. He already has 2 warnings from Kleinschmidt. One more and he will be fired from the hotel. When she had an emergency work commitment, Laura asks Salia to come watch over Oscar while he plays in the park. After agreeing to do her that favor, Salia gets a call from Max asking him to come in for work immediately or Kleinschmidt will fire him. He has a fall from the monkey bars that he was playing on with Oscar. He calls up Laura and asks her to return to the park where she left him and the child. While he is on the call, Salia loses track of where Oscar went and cannot find him again. He frantically looks for him but has no luck. Laura is shocked to find out that her son is missing and hysterically starts to call out his name. She asks Salia to help her, but he remains frozen. When poked again and again by her to come help, he breaks down and tells her he cannot help as he does not see anything. She is taken aback by his confession, but remains focused on finding her son, leaving Salia standing there alone. Having found Oscar on the other side of the park, Laura angrily asks Salia what he meant. He tells her about his retinal detachment. She is furious that he agreed to watch over Oscar without telling her the truth. She takes Oscar and leaves for home, giving Salia no chance to explain himself any further. Her disappointment can be felt in her tone. For a while, Salia just waits there, completely shattered about what just happened. He realizes that he might have just lost one of the best relationships of his life, simply because he was dishonest and afraid of telling Laura the truth earlier. While waiting there, contemplating where he went wrong, he gets another call from Max, asking him to rush to the hotel or he will get fired. Salia quickly collects himself. He manages to reach the hotel in time for his shift. He is asked to take a tray of champagne glasses to the table. He is exhausted and stressed out by everything that is going on in his life. His disability, his father leaving, his family's finances, his career, his breakup with Laura, his second job, and the pressure of having to conceal the truth at all times. All of that, combined with the craving for his drugs, is simply too much. Salia trips over a tablecloth and ends up dropping all the champagne flutes on the floor. Grabbing negative attention from everyone, he slips on the champagne but steadies down and controls himself from falling. Max comes to his help. The two of them clean up the broken bits of champagne flutes. Max suggests Salia to go home as he does not look well, but he insists on staying on for the fear of being fired by Kleinschmidt. Max warns him to go home because he is completely out of control. If he messes up again, Max will be unable to help him. Ignoring the good advice his friend is trying to give him, Salia continues on his way to serve champagne at the wedding reception. Affected by his bad state, his already imperfect vision gets blurrier and he ends up crashing into the wedding cake. This accident forces the restaurant manager to come to his rescue. He pulls a very distressed Salia from the floor and angrily asks him if he is blind. Out of pure rage and complete exhaustion, Salia finally reveals the truth to his colleagues. He confesses the whole truth about his disability. Kleinschmidt is furious about this and fires him without a second thought. Salia stumbles out of the hotel, completely covered in the wedding cake, and almost crashes into the tram. He somehow makes his way home, but his condition keeps getting worse from then on. He continues working his low-paying job at the Indian restaurant, but all his happiness has disappeared. Hamid is concerned about Salia's addiction and asks him to stop taking drugs. Instead of realizing that everyone cares for him, Salia lashes out at his friend and asks to be left alone. On his own and unhappy, he starts drinking more and frequently partying. One night, he gets thrown out of a nightclub for being too drunk. While he tries to make his way home, he keeps getting pushed around by people. Drunk out of his mind and high on all kinds of harmful synthetic drugs, he eventually falls off a huge staircase. Salia suffers grave injuries from the fall, but a few kind passers-by get him up and to the hospital. When he finally regains consciousness, he finds Sheila right next to him. She comforts him as he breaks down. Soon after, Max enters the room and greets his friend. Salia apologizes to Max for not listening to him when he should have. Max instantly forgives his best friend and hits on Sheila instead. Sheila tells Salia their mother has finally found a job, and he does not need to worry about their finances. She asks him to return home, where he can be safe and recover in the comfort of his own house. Salia is happy to hear that, and realizes that he cannot continue living as if he didn't have a visual disability. He chooses to accept his problem with open arms instead of running away from it. Instead of pursuing hotels that reject him, he instead aims to find an employer who will accept him for who he truly is. Salia tells Sheila and Max that he would like to stay on in Munich to find out who he truly is. The two smile at his maturity and agree to help support him in whatever makes him most happy. Salia lands a job in a call center. It has a huge amount of blind or visually impaired people working in it, but it is not the kind of environment he sees himself working in and turns down the job. Max decides to do something fun and adventurous with Salia. The two of them go cycling while Max tells Salia when to brake, when to turn, etc. It is a fun bonding exercise between the two friends. After their ride, the two return to the hotel to meet Kleinschmidt and the hotel director Fried. Salia apologizes to the two senior hoteliers and his colleagues for ruining the wedding. While Kleinschmidt is adamant to not accept his apology, he asks him why he is here. Salia requests to be allowed to sit the final examination. Salia comes clean to his trainers, telling them that he should have been honest about everything much earlier, but that rejections and mockery caused by his disability compelled him to lie. With all honesty and a great deal of courage, he pours his heart out, impressing everyone. He is, much to his own shock, given a chance to take the test. While preparing for his test, Salia faces a lot of difficulties in arranging a table in under 30 minutes. One day, while he is helping Hamid with some paperwork, he runs into Laura, who compliments his earlier speech. They have a short chat, after which she wishes him luck on his test. He grabs the opportunity and tells her that he misses her deeply. She doesn't respond but is seen blushing at that thought. It is finally the time to take the exam. Salia has worked very hard for this day and gives it his best. He performs well on all the parameters, but the table arranging task throws him off track. He ends up tripping in the last 30 seconds and fails to complete the table properly. Despite his table being an absolute mess, he is still granted the diploma, thanks to his great scores in other subjects. At the felicitation ceremony, Salia is deeply touched to see that both Kleinschmidt and Fried are proud of him and his dedication. Kleinschmidt praises his knowledge of wines and offers him a job in the restaurant as a sommelier, which he turns down. This surprises the manager. When asked why he rejected the offer, Salia tells him that Max and he have a project to work on. Kleinschmidt wishes him luck and takes his leave. Being a believer of the old saying, "To go far, you must have good company," Salia finds himself in the company of his best friend, Max. The duo opens a restaurant in downtown Munich. All their friends and family come over to support them on their big opening night. A special guest, Laura, arrives there as well. Laura offers to help out with his restaurant. Hearing her voice brings unparalleled joy to Salia. She also tells him that she still loves him, making it the best moment of his life. After closing, the circle of friends is celebrating and dancing. Laura asks Salia to dance, but he is afraid of falling. She tells him that she will be his eyes for him whenever he needs.